America great? Why would you hate that so much?
Well, because the university.
Thought-provoking, faith-based. The Ken and Mike Show. And now, Ken and Mike.
We are back. Welcome back to the Ken and Mike Show. With your hosts, Ken and Mike.
And Miguel.
What's going on, Ken?
What's up, man?
Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Welcome back
I feel like I've seen you before.
What we call the chaos, which is the Ken and Mike Show.
Are we the chaos, or are we just...
we just reflect the chaos, that's all.
Are we just talking about the chaos that's going on in the world today? I don't know. It's a mixture.
I don't mind being part of the chaos.
Yeah. Well, you got to have fun doing it, right?
Absolutely.
Well, hello.
Hey, Mel.
Welcome. Hi, Mel.
Welcome back, Mel.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good.
Good
man.
to see you, too.
Yeah,
Not like I haven't seen you.
Have you guys seen each other in a while?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think you guys work together. So, yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Ken and Mike Show. We are talking about, I don't remember what the title of this show is, but pretty much I'll sum it up. It's that we went from America first to, quite frankly, a country that is being used as a stepping stone for an agenda put forth, this is a long version, put forth by those that are now in power, a.k.a. continuance of the fundamental transformation that started in the Obama years. However, it's been given quite a few booster shots. Would you say so? I mean, the 50 executive orders should say something, right?
I can't believe that these words are about to come out of my mouth.
Yeah, I can.
I would almost take Obama back right now.
Wow. Wow, okay.
Well, contrasting.
Yes, I get what you're saying.
Just contrasting.
Yeah.
I'd rather go back to 2008 at this point
Yes.
than where we are right now in 2021.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's behind the scenes doing some things. Don't you worry, he's back.
I'm sure you're 100% right.
But I'll tell you what. Number one, before we kind of get into all, we have a lot to talk about. I think we'll also, Mike, take a moment of silence in a bit because of Andrew Cuomo. He's lost some. Maybe we should do that now. I just want to encourage you all to take a moment of silence.
Yes, I'm very. I want to hold off on the champagne and the poppers and all that.
Right,
stuff,
because we don't know.
I haven't.
Yes.
I've only been able to verify it from
from
one site
Yeah.
right now. I'm waiting for it to be more broadcast.
Right.
But
I'm sure it hasn't hurt his ego,
Mhm.
because nothing's like solidified yet from what we know. But at least we were in that arena.
They took a flaming stick and they shoved it where. I'm so happy.
Yes, up his nose.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a piece that's very interesting, kind of contrast to what we're talking about tonight. We're going to. It seems like we're going everywhere, but we're not. We're talking about borders, talking about gun control, different things like that, and there's a point to it. And I think we sum it up in this video that we're going to show in just a second. But in real clear politics, Biden gives confusing answer on standing up to China. And he says, I shouldn't try to talk China policy in 10 minutes on television. Well, we're going to talk a little bit. Let me just read a couple things here, and then I won't do it justice. That's the point, because it's going to be great when you see the video, listen to the video, you who are watching. But we must speak up for human rights, he says. It is who we are. We can't. My comment to him was, now this is him speaking, just remember, and I know him well, and he knows me well. We're a 2-hour conversation. No American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. That's the point. Squeaky. That's the point that about tonight. Remember value. Remember this. Values of the United States. We'll get back to that. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in Western mountains of China. And
is this quoted verbatim?
Oh yeah. Just wait till you hear the video. And et cetera. Trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, by the way, and he said he gets it. And I come back and said they're going to get their one. They're going to end their one child policy because they're so xenophobic. So Mel,
Hold on a sec.
yeah,
Do you have a map key for where that went? You know how the map.
right? Yes, I think there is a codex kind of system
Wow.
that he uses. We don't know it yet. We're figuring it out though on the Ken and Mike show. Whenever you're ready, Mel, you
I
can
need
play
to
that
follow
video.
that train.
Let me know when you got that. I'll keep talking until we do. But the bottom line is I think even Anderson Cooper was kind of like, what's going on here? He just,
Where are you?
where are you right now? And I don't mean to be, and I think we talked about this before the show. It's not about doing a disservice. It's really mostly to him. I don't want to dog him, but he's a little.
I see the video on, but
Yeah.
I don't have the audio.
Okay. Will you let us know? Basically, unless the mute button's on or something like that. But basically, he's out to lunch right now. And I don't mean no disrespect. I mean, it sounds like it because it's coming from us that we're being disrespectful. I'll tell you what. I mean, even from and I mentioned this on my podcast the other day, talking about, remember that thing about the rural areas and they can't use computers, etc.
No, he wasn't talking about rural areas. He was talking about a specific people group.
Right. Yeah, that was the worst context to say something like that ever. But he did it. But he won't get any backlash for that.
Now,
He's just old, I guess.
let me play devil's advocate. I mean, we've all heard the analogy
Mm-hmm.
before. But just go down that
Sure.
train of thought with me.
Sure.
If Trump had said, well, basically they're not intelligent enough to log on and register
Right.
about a specific people group, he'd be out in the street right now hanging from the rafters.
Well, think about the 4 years that he was in office that they tried to hang him for what he said about the Spanish group.
Right.
And what he was talking about Mexico, he wasn't mentioning every Mexican. Everybody knew exactly what he meant, but they used that as a ploy for their agenda so that they could give him much backlash to let him know, like, oh my gosh, he is xenophobic and he's these things. And it's like, no, he's not actually. He's saying, hey, I'm trying to protect you guys. I don't want rapists and murderers coming in here and harming
Right.
us. And even if you play just the audio, if you want to do it through USB on the other page, don't worry about it if it's not working that way, Mel. But I'll tell you what, and looking at this comment and what he's saying here, though, when he's talking about China, it's just he doesn't know at all what he's talking about. And the point in this whole thing was what he says right here: no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. I agree with that, but somehow he is there right now. And the person who reflected the values of the United States was in office just before him, his predecessor, Donald Trump.
I agree. I think we can't discount the fact that we are so heavily divided that there's another half of the country that would disagree with you.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay,
Sure.
and there's our side that would agree with you.
Right.
So the problem is no matter what he says, he alienates an entire half of a nation.
Yeah,
You know, representative of who?
right.
You say you're representing who? The American people? Well, from my optics, you're representing a people, but you're not representing the nation.
Right.
If you were representing the nation, there would be some sort of compromise. There would be some sort of checks and balances to his record number of executive orders.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, but he's being praised for that, though.
By whom?
Well, the media is saying that he's doing a great
Are
job.
you happy about it?
No, but
All
the
right.
media says it's good, though, Mike. So we should be happy too.
Yeah, well, we know how
Right?
the media rules.
Yeah, we do know how the media rules. But listen, right to it though. We'll move on here. According to the now, I mentioned the Epic Times. Some people know who it is. Some people don't know the Epic Times. But this is them in particular. But in a minute I'll get to the Rasmussen poll. But they just did a kind of survey thing to kind of see what who was their favorite president, basically. So according to the Epic Times, former President Donald Trump topped a new survey among its readers. So it's among its readers, but you'll see in a second, though, they don't like everybody. The headline, Trump tops Epic Time reader poll asking for 5 favorite presidents. So the poll asked readers to choose their 5 favorite presidents of all time. 95% chose Trump as one of their top 5. Second was the late Ronald Reagan. And this, I was thinking about this. It's possible in this particular group that maybe these are younger people. Maybe they didn't really know Ronald Reagan. They lived through the Trump era. They realized how great he was, at least to them.
I'd like to know what demographic
Sure.
they pulled.
George Washington and Abraham Lincoln were two other popular choices, and Thomas Jefferson rounded out the top 5. But the top least favorite were as follows. Who do you think was first?
Obama.
Barack Obama. Guess who was second? He's only been president for a month.
What's his name?
Biden. Biden.
Oh man, what's
Forbidden?
his name? That China guy. Oh wait, what's his
Joe.
name?
Joey.
Yes.
Joe Biden, who has only been in there for a month without even knowing it. Bill Clinton, Jimmy Carter, and Lyndon B. Johnson. But wait.
I think that tells you the bias right there of the sample group.
Wait a minute. It didn't stop yet. That was a certain percentage. Check. No, there's a few more that kind of rounded in that 5 for some people. George W. Bush, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Richard Nixon, George H.W. Bush, and Woodrow Wilson.
As worst?
Yeah. They didn't like.
See, I would think anybody who did any close study of history
Mm-hmm.
and who is honest, politically honest, I would think Carter would rank a little bit higher on that list.
Okay.
Specifically for his response to Iran
Okay.
and the hostage situation. I can understand right now because it's fresh,
Mm-hmm.
and this is recent history. I can understand where Trump would top that list, but I think anybody who's really honest and did a cross-section study of history and our politics, knowing the people group that they probably polled, I'm surprised Reagan isn't number 1.
Oh, Reagan. I think overall, if you did a whole thing, well, wait a minute. I shouldn't say that. Among people who liked him, who knows him and loved his politics, he would be number 1.
Right.
I would put it as, I liked George Bush Jr. and when he was, or George Bush, for 9/11 and all these things, and there's so many conspiracy things out there too. But at that time, he was a great president. I thought.
I agree with you.
I just feel like he's
at the
changed
time.
a lot.
At the
Yeah.
time,
Yes.
right.
Right, at the time.
You hit it on the head at the time. His response was great to 9/11. Really brought the country together. I mean, I don't know if it was so much him, but
Right.
it's a response to what
Right.
happened. But knowing now what we know, and as far as the good old boys and stuff like that, I'm not as much of a fan of Bush as I was.
Right, not now. But you looked. You know who you can tell was at least a decent man who loved this country is when you see the soldiers actually respect them.
Mm-hmm.
You know who the soldiers didn't respect very much?
They still don't.
Obama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most people. I mean, I've heard it from many soldiers. He just was an arrogant dude, and it's not because of his color, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a good litmus test to
And they love George Bush too.
where you stand with basically the heart of America. Because I know
Yes.
you're always going to have division. You're always going to have left, right, whatever, the whole 9 yards. But I think that's a good test. How does the military see their commander-in-chief? And I think you could really get a pulse on how you're doing as a president, how the military views you.
Yes.
I mean, these are people that are representing our best interests in the war theater throughout the world.
Right.
And, what is their opinion of the guy back home that's sending them to these places?
right.
So I think that would be a better litmus test how's our president doing?
Exactly.
I would love to know, and I'm sure they won't voice it now, but I would love to know in about 6 months how they feel about the guy that's in there now.
Do we have a president now? So I look at it as we have an administration right now. Hey, Miles, is there a possibility? We've done this before, haven't we? I would love to, and anybody who watches this video sooner or later, I'd love to put together. I know, even though we only have about 100,000 viewers, it's not a million. I would love to have if we could put together a little like kind of like survey to make our own kind of thing to see who they would put as their top 5 presidents of all time. Now, I have somebody that, Mel, too, because Ted used to have him on the show a lot, is David Petruccia. Do you remember him, the historian? So he writes all these books, and one of his favorite presidents actually was, and now later on throughout the show, I want to give a great quote by him because it's incredible, was Calvin Coolidge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've. I mean, he was actually a good president. I mean,
Can't say I know much.
you weren't under him at all.
No,
It was a long time ago.
I can't say he had an influence on me.
Right. Well, listen to this poll. A new poll found that 73% of a likely. Now, this is a Rasmussen poll. A little bit more people know this one. A new poll found that 73% of likely Republican voters said that the party's leaders should be more like former President Donald Trump. This comes from a Rasmussen poll. What does this say? It says a lot, I think. But
I 100% get behind the leadership, the style of leadership that Trump
small government
presented. I do think, and I'll go on the record to say that I don't think if he runs again, I'll probably vote for him. But I'm just saying I don't think we can survive another politically left and right another Trump presidency. But I do think we need somebody, because right now, let's be honest, the Republican Party is heavily influenced by the whole thing of what Trump was and who Trump is.
Right.
He kind of reformed the Republican Party, gave it a new face, restructured,
facelift, yeah.
Facelift, restructured it, if you will.
Yeah.
So I think whoever the Republican Party puts forward next needs to kind of have that type of leadership style, but maybe a different personality.
I get what you're saying. But listen to this. This is Rasmussen as well. Another poll has also revealed that 36% of Republicans called Trump the best president ever. So this is not the Epic Times now. While 18% called President Ronald Reagan the same. 13% called Lincoln the best, and 11% said the same for President George Washington. Now, I've been reading a lot about George Washington and our founding fathers recently, and I'll tell you what, it's hard to. I mean, these guys were incredible guys. I mean, what they did and how they worked together.
The politicians of today do not are pale in comparison.
No,
to
and I'm not
what
trying
our
to
founders were.
I'm not highlighting me at all. I'm just saying if you hadn't had a chance to listen to the Ken Burns Show podcast, I kind of mentioned a couple of quotes that are amazing from Patrick Henry and also from Thomas Jefferson. That he obviously wrote, and they asked him to come together. So other people kind of participated in some way, but the Declaration of Independence. If you don't get some chills when you read the whole context, the whole thing of not only Patrick Henry's speech, give me liberty, give me death. I mean, but all before that was the last line in his speech. All the other things were talking about how, it'd be treasonous if I felt like I should shut my mouth because I'm afraid to offend people. We should be not caring about that at all. And he said it's even more treasonous to the majesty of heaven.
Absolutely.
And of course, in the Declaration of Independence, if any government seems to be a little out of control, we can the people that it governs, us, the governed, who control the government, supposedly at one time, we can do away with that.
I agree.
This machine is huge. How do you turn this machine off? Do you? I think that's what Trump was trying to do. But I guess it just doesn't work that way. But again, this change, though, in the GOP rankings since 2018, when the last survey was conducted, is striking because Republicans at the time ranked Reagan first, followed by Trump. Now the positions are reversed. So I just found that very interesting. So that's how people are looking at it now. I think it's just because a big change occurred, maybe too. And so therefore, because a big change occurred and Trump happened to be there, they're wanting that back again. They see how detrimental it is when we don't have somebody like that. It doesn't have to be Trump, but somebody there that loves America, America first, like what the show is about tonight. It's not America first right now.
Well, I shared with you the other day the Roosevelt quote.
Yes.
Amazing. I don't have it in front of me right now, but let's contrast that for a second. And he was a Democrat, wasn't he?
I don't know.
Roosevelt. Anyway.
Teddy or Franklin?
Well, Teddy Roosevelt's one
yes.
I shared the quote with you. But anyway, let's contrast the politicians of old to the Trump style.
Sure.
I don't think it's very different.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I think we have softened so much as a culture that anybody that speaks very matter of fact and very frank the way Trump did, we they all wave the rainbow flag, the flag of surrender, and want to start yelling and screaming. We're too, we can't have that kind of leadership.
Right.
Let's go
the
back.
rainbow flag. You mean the white flag?
No, I'm saying rainbow flag.
Okay. All right.
I'm standing behind
Got
that
you.
statement.
For Noah's Ark. Okay.
Yes.
No.
50, 60 years ago,
Yeah.
that'd be commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read the way they used to, the politicians used to attack each other?
Oh yeah. With a stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With duels. We talked about that the other day.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Where have we come as a nation that we're offended by being proud and putting our chests out and saying, no, this is the American way.
Exactly.
This is the way we lead.
Yeah.
This is how we become prosperous. Sorry. You don't like it, get the flip out.
Right. Right.
This is the American way. When do we start kowtowing to, other influences that don't come from America?
Well, and the story you're talking about duels we were talking about, and I'll for our audience, I'll tell the quick story. Basically, Alexander Hamilton,
Burr.
and Burr and Jefferson were both tied for president. So Hamilton influenced others to against Burr so that Jefferson would become president. So that was that. But then Burr went and tried to be, I think it was the governor of New York or something like that. And once again, Alexander Hamilton came in, waited, and swayed people not to vote for him again. Burr had enough of this. So, of course, they went through, had a duel. Well, if you didn't know how Alexander Hamilton died, well, now you'll know. Basically, they had a duel, and Hamilton got served in the duel, and he died of his injuries a day later. This is how they did stuff back then. They were very serious about what they were doing. I'm not saying that we should go have duels, but I don't think
I am. I do. I am, absolutely.
All right. What you mean with fists?
We'd have less pansies in our culture
Yeah.
if we knew that there was actually a price to be paid for our stand.
That's true. There's a consequence. It would definitely change something now.
Start hanging people out on the streets again.
In a lot of cultures, they allowed somebody to challenge the king or hierarchy for the throne or the kingdom, the rulership.
Okay, hold on. You're speaking of Black Panther. I'm messing with
I mean,
you.
that came up to my mind. But Roman Empire,
I'm
other
joking with you.
empires.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
They had a system where the strongest one was the one to lead.
Yep. It's true. Yep.
Now, of course, in ours it'd be different because women can run for presidency, and I would never put a man up against a woman.
Okay, but
that would make for great television.
Okay,
It would if it was Gina Carrara or something like that.
Carino, yeah. Well, here's the thing. So I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but you just mentioned something very interesting.
Let's go down the bunny trail. Let's do it.
Okay, well, listen. You just said you would never put a man up against a woman like that, right? But
depends on how they identify. Right?
That's what I'm that's what I'm saying. This is how ridiculous things are getting. So you're in a nation of people who have no identity. Mm-hmm. They're finding it in so many forms and fashions, literally, by changing things. So it's like if a man, woman, or something like that were to become, and if we did have duels, I mean, how could you justify it or not justify it? I mean, I don't know. Would you do it? Absolutely. I mean, dude or chick.
Our identity changes.
It's just getting nonsensical.
I think we need to hire Lego. To somehow get into the medical field, because one day I'm a woman, one day I want to be a man. I think we just be able to switch the parts out like toys.
Got you. Well, I think you're thinking more of Mr. Potato Man, Potato Head, or whatever like that. Yeah, that's a little easier because doing the Legos and actually trying to form a person.
But it tells you where we are as a culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to go down this transgender BS for a second.
Okay.
And I'm probably going to get myself all sorts of trouble.
Bull snot, kids.
And we're going to wind up being canceled on YouTube.
Yeah, sure.
But
we already said hanging in the street, so we're just keep going.
I'm raw tonight.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to go down this.
Go.
This just tells you where our culture is and where we stand as a nation. These are such first world frickin' problems.
Yes.
I mean, let's go to the jungles of Africa, or even go to South America, if you will, and tell me if there's some guy with horns through his lip and wearing a grass skirt that's having a problem identifying who he was born as.
Right. Right.
I guarantee you, he has no conflict of who he is,
right.
or how he was created.
I think he's doing probably a good job. He's probably got lots of babies.
Absolutely. So these are totally first world problems because we give people these platforms to spew such garbage, and social media has everything to do with it.
Yes.
Hey, meanwhile, Ken and Mike shows on social media. But anyway,
Well, we're trying to.
this is just getting to
Different perspective.
At what
Yeah.
point do we say enough is enough? At what point do we say you're being it's asinine?
Right.
At what point do we say, why can't we just call things the way it is? You have a problem.
Right. Well, because that's what they're doing. They'll boot you off. They'll boot you off.
Boot me off. I don't have a
Yeah.
big enough platform to really worry about
Right.
it right now.
Right. Well, listen. That's just the thing, and that's the problem, and that's why we love. By the way, if you haven't, and we had a great guest, and if you haven't checked out that show recently, our show last week on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's not live now, but we had a great interview with Sam Sorbo, and if you haven't got her book, Words for Warriors, I'm telling you what, get that book, and listen, not just because of us. Go back and listen to this interview with her, because what she says is solid. And she's a woman, and she stands up for what is right. It really is inspirational. I really find it to be inspirational to say that it's a kick in the pants to say we should be doing the same thing. If she's doing it, what are we doing? You know, and we should be doing the same thing, and that's standing up for our rights and speaking out and not stopping, no matter how much they cancel. It's just like they canceled her husband.
But I'm sick and tired, and I didn't get a chance. We try just for the viewers, not like I have a huge audience. But we tried twice this week
Would you stop saying that?
to do my podcast for Mike Hansen.
Right.
Life happened, it couldn't be done.
Right.
But one of the things I was going to state, and I had told you,
Yes.
is that the left is remaking the culture over such a minutia variable of what the population is, just a small percentage. Okay, whether it be, and I'm not trying to offend any people group. Okay, but whether it be homosexual causes, whether it be transgenderism, whether it be gay marriage, whether it be abortion, pro-choice, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
These, if you were to take a cross-section of the American population, how do you people stand with this? Where do people stand with that? Most people, and I believe that I can back this up, most Americans as a whole have really a traditional sense of a standard.
Okay.
Have a traditional value system.
Sure.
I mean, there's people that side one way more than others, but on whole, I think we're kind of the nation as a whole is kind of centrist.
Yes.
Okay. But we want to dictate and change policy by the smallest amount of people that seem to be making the biggest influence and screaming the loudest.
They're making it a big thing. Like we were talking about microaggression the other day.
And when I was like the analogy I made, these are the same people that want to get rid of the Electoral College.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and with the Electoral College, basically, it's so that the rest of the nation out there in Iowa, corn-growing Iowa, isn't influenced by the politics of the urban New York City. Mm-hmm. You know, what they need, what the farmer needs out in Iowa and the people group out in those small counties don't need the same thing as what politics in California in those densely populated areas. So these same people who want us to do away with Electoral College because they want to go with the populist opinion as who should be running our office. Why doesn't that translate and trickle down into their social policy as well?
Because they want to have their
you want
cake
to get
and eat it too.
You want to get rid of the Electoral College that has everything to do with politics and who is put into leadership. But when it comes to social aspect of life, you want to make what you and I and everybody else in the world does predicated on a small minutia of the population.
Because you can't
It's
see all these
completely
people.
backwards.
You can't physically see all these people or talk to these people. So when they control the big tech controls the media and controls all these outlets, it makes it seem bigger than it actually is.
Right.
That's really, I mean, that's a short answer, I think, but that's what they do, and they can make it seem like it's a bigger problem than you think it is. You're small potatoes, and we outweigh you. No, they really don't. But according to what we see online, obviously they must.
We're worried about offending.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to make up an arbitrary number.
Okay.
We're worried about offending the 8%.
Mm-hmm.
But so the other 92% needs to be offended.
Listen, I mean, again, back to big tech, and I sent you an article. Basically, in that article, it talked about big tech. They were some of the major contributors to the Biden administration, most of the employees, et cetera, of big tech. It just kind of tells you something right there of what's going on with that and what's going on with it now. And the censorship is what you've mentioned, and we've mentioned on the show many times. But look at you're saying all these things, but it goes back to some of the headlines that we have right here. Listen, for example, the border, doing away with not border control, but essentially, the stopping of the border wall. Why would we do that? Well, look at what the new AG nominee Garland says. He waffled on this. Remember this headline I sent to you?
Yeah, I watched it today.
Yeah. Okay. So he was asked, whether illegal border crossings should remain a crime, and he stated the following: I just don't know the answer to that question. I haven't thought about it.
You answered it in the question.
You haven't.
Can you back up a second?
Right.
What did you say?
Who, me?
Yeah. Illegal.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
The word illegal, by definition.
Oh, of course. It's a crime in itself right there.
I mean, if like we've always said many times on the show, if you don't like the law, change it.
Right.
Okay. But right now, it's still illegal.
But that's the question.
Enforce it.
But that's the point of all of this. America isn't being put first right now at all. They're making it easier. For example, let's just go down the road, down the line right here on the border. So Garland waffles on that question. This comes right after, again, and I sent you a story too. There's another story out, and I mentioned it on my podcast, but this comes right after Biden says that they're undoing the civics test for migrants that was put in place by his predecessor for naturalization. I think the naturalization process is important, and I've mentioned this. It is for legal immigrants that come here that want to migrate legally.
What I read is they're not doing away with it. They're going back to the 2008 version.
Okay.
They basically
trying to say it's too arduous.
Well, Trump wanted to make it a little bit harder. If I read it correctly, originally they tell them to study for 100 different questions. Trump made it 128, I think, and the original questions on the test were 10.
Yeah.
Trump wanted to make it 20.
Okay. Irregardless of that, though, why are they? What is the point? We already have all these undocumented people here that, by the way, are possibly getting stimulus checks. Okay?
Exactly.
That's the point. Now, I'm not saying that we don't help people out. I mean, we've done that. We go to third world countries and help people out. We've done it. We do these things. But why are we? It's like you're enabling people to do the wrong thing. Hey, you came over here legally? Hey, listen, you need a helping hand, buddy. Stay for a while. Here's a stimulus check, by the way, too. And there's a process now, and we made it easier for you.
And we'll pay for your education and your medical.
Right. And there's people that we know personally, and I won't mention their names, that have come from different places, whether it's Germany or whether it's other places, that, you know how long it took for them to get their citizenship? And took to get their, being able to be a resident here in New York or United States? And the paperwork, and it got filed incorrectly, and they had to send it back. They had to pay more money. Oh, we lost your paperwork.
But yeah, if you do it illegally, just wait long enough when to say, you're forgiven.
A caveat to that. If you do it illegally and you're not the right persuasion, you get sent back.
Yeah.
Or thrown in jail. I'm not saying that racially.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if somebody was to come from Germany and do it illegally, what would happen?
It'd probably be deported immediately.
Yeah.
Deported immediately.
Exactly. That's a great point. And that's the problem. That is the problem. And I get what you're saying, too, about the naturalization. I just, whatever, but what is your gain in that right now? Like, why don't you deal with what's happening now with the illegal immigrants? 'Cause I know a lot of them, too.
Why is that so high on the list?
Right.
Right. I get what you're saying. Why is that even important right now?
Right. But I've met people who are illegal, and, they decided, some of them, I think, maybe I haven't seen them in a long time, to go back. But a lot of them are over here on work visas. And I knew someone who did go back. He went back because he had to do it the right way. He had to go back after he had this work visa, and and he,
I still know a few who
Yeah.
are illegal.
right. And I'm not, and and they're lovely people. That's
I don't
not
have
the
a problem
point.
with them.
That's, no,
Exactly.
exactly.
And they've even told me the same thing.
Right.
I mean, one in particular I'm thinking of, he had to change his name for the second time he came back.
And it's not the point.
That's not the
Yeah.
point. And we've talked about
Yeah.
it many times. And he's just like, I agree. You're just not enforcing your rules. So I'm here.
Exactly. That's the point right there. And those people that I know, I mean, I'd love for them to be here. But I'd like for them to be legal, because what's happening, and that's what Trump was trying to do with the border wall, with these laws, with our laws that we already have on the books, is enforce them so that, because look what was happening. Look what the drug running thing, with the whole drug running, with what's his face. They found all the secret tunnels and stuff in California. Chapo. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we can't allow to happen. I mean, this is not good. And of course from Muslim countries, he was doing the same thing, had restrictions. What is wrong with that? For 4 years, did you see any real power struggles with other countries as far as war goes?
No, there were no new wars.
I mean, we were pretty much...
People were crying thinking there was going to be.
Yeah, right, exactly. I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
And also on the immigration, it disenfranchised those who did do it legally.
Yeah.
Are now like saying, okay, I did it right. I don't really get much benefit.
Okay.
I really don't get really anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it incentivizes people to then, well, shoot, I'm going to do it illegally because then I'll get stuff.
Right. And what ties right into this, I'm going to give you the floor after I read this, Mike, so I want to hear your take on this too. Because we've been talking about a buddy of ours who's really, really fired up about the Second Amendment, So you see this, you see the illegal immigrants, you see this happening, and it's all about protection, right? About women and children and minorities and women. And we read that stat about
I'm going to get into that.
to the 39 million with the FBI is just okay, good. And basically, so we see this, and now they're going to try to eliminate them from protecting themselves against people that Trump was trying to make sure that we were protected from. And that's not saying that everybody's a bad person. It's just that we don't know you. So we don't know if you are or not. It's like if you went to school for somebody for 12 years, you kind of know them, but they still do bad things. But listen to this. The Biden gun control plan, which, by the way, the new AG also wants to push for this, would criminalize up to 105 million people that are already legal gun owners. This is what the gun rights group says, okay? A gun rights organization said that Biden's gun control proposal would potentially make about 105 million law-abiding gun owners into criminals. And this is a quote from the U.S. Concealed Carry Association. And they sent this letter to Biden, which, like we've mentioned, he did not read, I'm sure. They don't make glasses for him. I don't care. While we can agree that there are several common sense...
I'm glad you don't care.
Yeah. While we can agree that there are several common sense and long overdue changes needed to our nation's gun laws, we firmly believe that the path forward should be focused on supporting and protecting responsible, law-abiding Americans, not criminalizing and punishing them. Exactly. Is there gun violence? Yes. But there's what are we going to take, people's lighters away and stop burning buildings down too? Anyway, Mike, have the floor for a minute, buddy. Tell me what you had to say.
Because this whole gun control thing is it's just getting out of control.
Whoa!
I know, real enlightening there. From this own your own article that you're quoting here from Epoch Times here. One of the things that they highlighted, which I find hilarious.
Epic.
Epic, whatever.
Enoch. The Enoch Times.
Epic Times. Yeah, I was saying that earlier. Now I just keep saying it.
Do it, baby.
But anyway, I highlighted something here because it really either I'm reading it wrong, or my understanding of politics, and I just need to get off the air and just never talk again. But listen to one thing that's highlighted here. The U.S. Concealed Carry Association further added that record numbers of Americans have been purchasing firearms to keep themselves and their loved ones safe, adding that women and minorities are now leading the way as the fastest growing groups of concealed carry permit holders in this country.
Women and minorities. Okay.
Women and minorities. I'm going to say that again. Women and minorities.
I know a few.
Okay?
Okay.
The left will have you to believe that they cater to women and minorities.
All right, okay.
So they'll also have you to believe, now I'm not going to get into the rigged election conspiracy thing, but they also have you to believe that they have the market on women and minorities. Okay. So these same people that they say that they always have their vote locked in because they cater to them. According to this, women and minorities are now leading the way in the fastest growing group of concealed carry permit holders. Now, either they're bipolar.
Who? Yeah. Yes.
Or they're lying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So either the voters are voting for, are in mass numbers voting for the left, and we're going to take them at their word, and then they're going around
Right.
and buying handguns and signing up for concealed carry permits, or the left is completely lying to us, or bipolar. I mean, or
It's one or
they're
the
not
other.
bipolar. Their voters are bipolar.
Yeah.
Because, but this tells me, reading through the entire article, that we had mentioned earlier. What we went from 30 something. What was it? 10 million. 10 million was the original high.
Right.
For going out and buying a new gun.
No, for firearm background checks that were processed.
Okay.
10 million was the original number from the previous year. That was the high.
Yeah, and now it's up to 39.7 million.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's a big jump.
what does that tell you? They want us to believe 39.7 million. Okay. They want us to believe that over how many millions of people voted for the left policies.
Right.
Okay. Because the Biden administration, the Biden win is a reflection of the Americans wanting those policies. Well, if the response to you winning the election is 39.7 new background checks in the FBI for people going out and buying firearms, something's not adding up here. Either the American people and the American voter are freaking bipolar,
Yep.
or somebody's not telling the truth.
Dead people voted.
Yeah.
I'm not getting into that. I'm going to the black and white facts here.
Yes.
You're telling me FBI is saying they did a record high 39.7 million background checks for new firearms or to buy firearms. And the left is telling us, however, 80 million people voted for Biden. Okay. If the response to who just got elected into the White House is for people to go run out and buy guns, do you really think you have your pulse on what the American voters want?
No. And that goes back to the clip that we were going to play earlier. He said a U.S. president cannot be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States.
I'm off my soapbox now.
Yeah,
I'm just
right. So is it the administration will be sustained because somehow they're there and they have power right now. But this guy, I mean, if you believe for a second that this guy is in control, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But I'll say this though, and before we go any further, I want to mention, and I forgot to mention already. If you want to chime in, you can obviously comment on the comment section on Facebook, but you can also call the number, which I'm going to try to get this. It's 518-284-0740. So 284-0740. It's up on the screen, I believe. And if you want to weigh in on any of what we've talked about thus far, border, that's not in control, the gun control that is becoming more controlled, and any of these things, by all means, we would love to hear
also,
from
let's
you.
do some housekeeping.
Yes.
Where else can we be found?
Other
than here on
in the
Facebook.
house, in a different room. No, yeah. So listen, you can obviously go to the BMG Network on Facebook and check out all of our our whole network right there. But be sure and go for this show. Go to the Ken and Mike Show on Facebook. You can always email us at kenandmike@gmail. kenandmikeshow@gmail.com.
All the content is up there, and
All the
I have to
content
give a
is up there.
shout out to Kristen Coons.
Yes.
She did a phenomenal job on her last podcast.
Yes, she
I
did.
did listen to it.
Which is,
about
by the way,
masks.
very provocative. It's called the Mask Cult. So you should definitely listen to that. That's Set Apart with KC.
Yes.
I can go there.
Fabulous job.
Yep. You can check out Mic'd Up with Mike Hansen. You can check out the Pac-Man podcast with Ted Flint, who, by the way, is our main contributor to the Daily Perusal, which is our version of having columns, our newspaper online, basically. And he just put a great one out about Rush Limbaugh, who we lost, which, by the way, we should probably mention, who we all loved very much, dearly, and he led the way. I mean, he built that from the ground up, and here we are today. Not us, but people like us doing the same thing, doing big things because he.
If it wasn't for him, who kind of plowed the way for the conservative thought, the conservative talk,
Yep.
We obviously probably wouldn't be doing this right now.
Exactly.
He was awesome. We lost a great man. He was young too,
70
years old.
Yep. But he was tough until the very last breath. I mean, this guy, he's no joke. And 2 years ago, he always had I think admiration for God, but he actually put his trust in Jesus Christ about 2 years ago, I think it was. And he made that faith very, very public in his last year or so, or something like that, which was really cool. Because
that was news to me. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And we were talking this weekend. That was new to me. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't until his passing that I found that out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fabulous. I mean,
but his satire, his just his way. I mean, just the music. I mean, when you hear that music, it's just like, oh, it's Rush, And he's talent on loan from God, I mean, he just had his own little things. The EIB network, Could you imagine being part of that? I mean, that's the thing. And I've heard some great commentary, old stuff from him. That they've been playing recently about how he, someone called in and asked him, like, did you ever, like, when did you realize that you were so successful? And just the humility, though. He's like, he's like, I'm not trying to dodge your question. He's like, I just didn't have time to think about it like that. He's like, I just tried, I was so into what I was doing. I never had a chance to kind of do my own thing because when you're under a radio station or whatever you're working for, the network, you're kind of have to abide by the rules. And then finally, when I was in Sacramento, when I finally got to do kind of my own thing, and when I had people come to my events where I would speak, when I realized that there was thousands of people coming, is when I realized, like, oh, I got to take this very seriously. And he did. He did take it very seriously.
I didn't discover Rush until I saw him on television. I didn't even know anything about radio.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't discover Rush till television when he was lambasting Clinton on a regular,
Yeah.
And that's when I really got turned on to Rush, was when he was, slamming him and Monica Lewinsky. That was, that's when I discovered Rush.
Yeah. So, again, go to the BMG Network on Facebook. Go to the BMGnetwork.com. Definitely go to the BMGnetwork.com, because then from there you can go to all of our sites, and plus check out all of our great podcasts. And of course, this right here will take you to other places too.
Let me just continue in that vein just for a second. I mean, just the left. I mean, I try not to bash the left too much, but the left, the compassionate, all-inclusive.
Just preach it, brother.
The left, just how beautiful, and arms always open, inviting people in.
Yes.
When Rush died.
Yeah, I'm actually glad. I'm saddened that we have to talk about it like this, but I think when we talked, we contrasted it like this. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg died,
yes,
we paid our respects. Did I like her as a judge? Honestly, no.
No.
Did I stand for anything she believed? No way. Especially the abortion bullcrap. But we paid our respects. It's a human being. It's a life. It's a human being who had a life, who died. We respected her.
Like her or not,
right.
She was a powerful force for the for the women's movement.
Absolutely.
Where you stand on her politics and her theories and her philosophy,
you put it aside.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just who she was. You got to recognize the fact that she was a voice and she was a force to be reckoned with.
Yes.
I didn't agree 98% of the time.
Right.
But as we talked about in the show, she still was able to maintain relationships with those who agreed differently than her.
Exactly.
Look at the left when Rush
Let's talk about what people said about him. Now, out of all the people, obviously, we respect him. Most of the people do on the right, even a lot of people on the left. However, the disgustingness and how they didn't take this stuff down, by the way. It was all okay to do this stuff, and nobody got backlash for it. Saying things like, instead for RIP, it's, rest in piss. Or, man, I hope he suffered hard until his dying breath. Just different things like that. Like the things that they would say. I'm like, who says that kind
he
of
gave
stuff?
a voice to racism in this nation.
You know what's great, though? And somebody said this
Can
great.
you demonstrate that for me,
Yeah,
please?
right. Let those people talk, because that's the thing about
It
people.
shows their true colors.
Well, it's in general. When you just allow somebody else to kind of show themselves, and they're constantly pointing stuff at everybody else, it doesn't say anything about you. They're saying something about you, but what they're doing is exposing their character.
But the love and compassion that they have.
Well, except for certain people, Mike. Okay? If somebody crosses them and they don't like what they do, then the love and
they're
compassion.
Tolerant.
Right. But it's contingent upon what.
Kenny, I don't like what you're saying.
What?
They're tolerant.
You don't like what I'm saying? I thought you were loving and tolerant, Mike.
How can they possibly? It was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting.
You don't do that.
It was gross.
And you're going to see that more. I mean, listen, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there.
And it's gotten to the point where me, on the right-hand side, where I used to, and I have said this before, and I'll reiterate it, is the Republican Conservative Party, or even the culture in America, has lost its backbone.
Yes.
Okay? It's time now that we start fighting fire with fire.
Yes.
I'm tired of placating to not to ruffle any feathers, because we don't want to be deemed as the evil dark right. They're already calling us that anyway.
Right.
Okay. So when people start doing the frickin' tolerant left starts saying negative things about Rush Limbaugh before the body was even cold.
Yes.
And talking like that, it's time to pull them out on the carpet and call them out for where they are.
Yeah.
They're hypocrites, they're liars, and they're pieces of garbage, and they don't belong on the air.
Right. Well, then you have those people that are, behind the scenes making sure that manipulating some of the social stuff so that when we do call them out, that doesn't get seen. I mean, so this is the stuff that's happening right now. Their stuff gets seen and blown up. Like, this is who he was. And they'll show the worst of it. I don't know if it was CNN, somebody was showing all of the certain clips about him, about his worst moments.
When you have a career as long and as influential as Rush Limbaugh did, there's gonna be gaffes.
Yes.
God forbid we highlight the stuttering buffoon in the White House,
Right,
for the gaffes that he has. Okay, because then we're being insensitive, and you gotta respect the office, this, that, and the other thing. But when we
It's not him.
when we go after one of your guys, it's all out war.
Right.
The hypocrisy is disgusting.
Is there any chance of getting that audio? Or is it?
Negative.
Why? What's up with it? It's just not working?
Yeah, I
It won't
have no
play.
clue why.
Interesting.
It
won't
doesn't
play
like
through.
it doesn't like that website, I guess.
Oh, interesting. Okay, no worries. So it doesn't like Joe Biden on that website. So listen, I mean, let me go through a couple of things here for you guys. I want to, and I'll even give a little progressive. Two progressives. I'll give quotes from them too.
You cannot be progressive.
I'm not. Let me tell you something. We talk about what our founding fathers believed and how they were, and so many people say, you hear those little baloney comments of, when they wrote the Constitution, the God part was like, oh my gosh, it's not part of it and stuff like that. Actually, why don't you read the context around our founding fathers?
First words.
Yeah, I know. So listen to this. Here's James Madison. Remember, obviously they won the Revolutionary War, and then things went on. We had Declaration of Independence was signed later on. The Articles of Confederation, that wasn't good enough. They went on. Thanks to James Madison and all the founding fathers, they came together, made the Constitution. James Madison on the War of 1812, which was another war that happened again. This is what he says in a quote: "I flung forward the flag of the country, sure that the people who press onward and defend it, that the people would press onward and defend it. And then under the new Constitution, the nation's power will be derived," listen to this, "from the superior power of the people." Now, that's not the government. That's the superior power of the people. This is what they would say. And they made it, they declared these things to make sure that we knew as a people, as the states, as the United States, that they set up and they obviously died on hills for, so that the government wouldn't get too big. were you going to say something before I keep going?
No, it's ironic that you're bringing up some of the quotes of our founding fathers, and because I mean, you know how Facebook does your memories.
Yes.
And I was going through some of the posts that I had posted in the past, and it's kind of ironic. On this day, I posted 3 quotes from our founding father, George Washington.
I'm actually going to do a quote from him. See if this lines up. Did you do this one? This is a great quote by him. It says, "Government is not reason. It is not eloquence. It is a force like fire. It is a dangerous servant and a fearful master." Now here's the kick. Here's the point right here. "Never for a moment should it be left to irresponsible action." Was that one of your quotes?
No.
Okay. Why don't you give me one of them?
It's Washington.
Yeah.
It is impossible to rightly govern a world without God in the Bible.
Yeah. Well, he was a devout Christian. He was a great guy. Great man. I knew him. Did you know that he didn't have wooden teeth, by the way?
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah, he didn't. It wasn't wooden
that was
teeth.
a fable.
It was like tusks and different
Dog
human stuff.
Teeth, pig bone.
Yep, all that stuff in there. And then for pictures, they would put because by the time he was president, he pretty much had no teeth at all. So they put cotton balls in his mouth to kind of puff out his cheeks so he could
Is
take
that why
pictures.
they were puffy in some pictures?
Yes, that's why. So anyway, if you lose your teeth, cotton balls work, Mike. So there you go. Listen to Alex.
How did we get on that rabbit trail?
Well, I just you know how I go. Listen, Alexander Hamilton. Ready? Alexander Hamilton, who lost his life in a duel. Poor guy. "The sacred rights of mankind are not to be rummaged for among old parchments or musty records. They are written as with a sunbeam in the whole volume of human nature by the hand of the divinity itself, and can never be erased or obscured by mortal power." So listen to this too. People will be like, well, what sacred rights is he referring to? What sacred rights he was referring to was this. Well, the founders held that every human being possesses certain rights by nature of being born human, which is called natural rights. Nature, this is from the founders, nature as created by God is the source of these immutable rights. Government exists. You ready? Why does government exist? To protect them, those rights. That's why.
Let's go home.
Let's go home. I hope that you heard that, you 100,000 viewers.
Let's go home.
Thank you,
That's it.
founding fathers. Do we feel, and this we'll circle back to the question tonight, do we feel that we're being represented? Is our person in chief, is the administration, are they representing the values, reflecting the values of the United States? Of the United States, who was created, the United States, that whole term was created by these guys.
You know, if they go back to what they used to do before they would meet in the chambers, before they would start session, they would have prayer. They would have Bible study.
Yes.
If they would go back to just doing that before they did anything else, most of us, we get up in the morning, what do? We pray, we read our Bible, and we go to work. If they would just get back to that, where do you think the country would be?
I don't know if I agree with that. Because you have idiots standing up saying amen and a woman. I mean,
Well, they've taken they've taken stuff
don't
out
know
of
who
the
they're
chamber.
Here's your
Yeah,
sign.
yeah.
Kick them out.
Well, they've taken out. What did they take out recently? They did something differently with the people didn't have to participate in the prayers or something like that, or what was it? Not that long ago, under Obama, in the chamber. Didn't they didn't take the. They had something over it. They have a lot of scripture all over in there, and I don't know. There was something that happened. I don't remember, but I wanted to give you a couple quotes and see if you like this, Mike. Calvin Coolidge, who I was mentioning, this is what he said: "If all men are created equal, that is final. If they are endowed with inalienable rights, that is final. If governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, that is final. No advance, no progress can be made beyond these propositions." Here's some progressive quotes for you real quick, and then have the floor again, Mr. Mike. Frank Goodnow, you ever hear him?
no.
"Social efficiency probably owes more to the common realization of social duties than to the general insistence on privileges based on individual private rights." Here's John Dewey. You've heard of John Dewey. "Natural rights and natural liberties exist only in the kingdom of mythological social zoology." I know. That's a progressive for you. There's your sign. So that's some smart people right there. I just wanted to throw it out there for you. shows you the contrast that they're two opposing sides.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are like, you're a fool if you believe that. These guys are like, no, you're a fool for what you believe, and this is what happened. This is happening right now. I wish we could go back to the way of our founders.
I'm going to pose a question for you.
Love
this
it.
is kind of off the script.
Okay.
We agree that this nation was founded by godly men on biblical principles.
Correct.
Would that be a proper assessment?
100%.
And we can also say that we can see, looking back in history and looking at the timeline, that God's hand surely played a big part in the founding of this nation.
Yep.
His blessing was on this nation.
Mm-hmm.
Pose a question to the viewers and to us here: is God's hand still on this country?
You have to answer that now.
No.
Okay.
You can ponder it.
Is it, folks?
Stay tuned.
Yeah. Yes. Dun, dun, dun. So listen, kind of at the end here, but that's a great question. I mean, is it?
I mean, we can lead into that
Yeah.
for the next show.
We can.
It is God's. I mean, God never leaves you or forsakes you.
That's
Scripture
right.
says.
That's right.
Okay. Now, I think that talks to the individual.
Mm-hmm.
But is there a point where God says, "You got what you asked for.
Mm-hmm.
You want me out? My hand is off."
Well, whose blood is on? Whose hands is this blood on when it comes to abortion? Honestly, do we all kind of have a part in that?
Sure, we do. I think we do.
Because the way we've gotten to where we've gotten today, as far as how government's gotten so out of control, that's all of our faults. That become complacent, you become happy doing your thing. We live in a New York minute. We live in New York. Things we just go about our business.
Well,
Go to church, do our thing.
Someone we talked to this weekend, I think, said it well. And I think it's representative of myself as well. Politics never really affected me.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of out there. Didn't really mess with me on my personal level. You guys do your thing. I'm going to stay here at the house, and I'm going to chop my wood, love my kids,
Yes.
make my bacon and eggs,
Right.
and go about my life.
Yeah.
You can't say that anymore.
Yeah. Nope.
I mean, there was always, Republican, Democrat, left, right. There was always policies that we didn't agree with, blah, blah, blah. But overall, Americans were Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And, for the most part, you can say that they had what they thought was the best interest for the country,
Yes.
generally speaking.
Yes.
I mean, now I can't think you can say that anymore. Politics affects all of us.
100%.
Policy is affecting every single one. We're seeing this every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's time
To get involved
to
and
stop
speak out.
to stop talking
Yeah.
about it and
Mhm.
start doing something.
That's right.
That's every single one of us.
Yep.
And as that somebody said today over the weekend, and I agree 100%. I would rather see when they start asking us for our involvement, our money, our donations. Start asking those questions. Well, what do you represent? What do you stand for? What are you behind?
Right.
Because I'd rather see your opponent get in if you aren't representing me.
That's right.
So you
Well
know what?
said. Yeah.
Screw it. Let
Yeah.
the Democrats win.
Yep.
Because that means you're not going to win. And if you're not going to represent me, let them win. And next time we're going to put somebody up that is going to stand behind us,
No matter what.
no matter what. So what if we have to reverse some policies that the idiot that you opposed? I'd rather do that than have you not represent who I am.
That's right. Yep. And the country has, I mean, that's on a smaller scale, and as a country, on a larger scale too.
So it's time.
Yeah.
It's time to get involved. And it's time to do something and be involved. Because the country,
Mm-hmm.
if we don't do something, we may even be past the time of repair. We
Yeah.
might. And like we had said earlier, I mean, the only thing right now that can completely stem the tide or completely reverse it is obviously, the hand of God.
Yes.
Prayer and having a complete revival in
Mhm.
this land.
Mhm.
Okay, and revival, obviously, we all said it starts with us. But that being said, we may be past the point of no return. So I think it's time, if it isn't too late, to put your money where your mouth is and start doing something. There were some people that made great headway in politics that weren't very well educated men, but they believed in a cause and they believed in a purpose.
George Washington had no real education. So.
And who was he?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, don't say that you don't have it, you can't do it. We'll put people around you that do.
That's right. Well said. That's that. So on that note, please share us with your friends before this is taken down. And also, please like us on Facebook at The Ken and Mike Show, and also on the BMG Network. Share with your friends. Tell your friends. Get involved with us and be a voice that can be heard.
I'm going to run.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't know what I'm going to run for,
Yeah,
but I'm
we're
going to
gonna
run.
We're going to run for something. But again, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We'd love to hear from you. You can contact us on our contact page at thebmgnetwork.com. And you can see all the other information on there as well. Guys, fellas,
Thanks for tuning in.
thanks for tuning in. Mel, thank you
We'll
so
be
much.
back next week,
We will. Tuesday,
6 p.m.
Eastern.
Standard Time.
See you guys next time.
The Ken and Mike Show.